Dear all, welcome to this new episode of the CATIA TV. This time we will focus on the topic of 3DEXPERIENCE Marketplace Part Supply with a focus on the enterprise solution. Today you will experience a global webinar on 3DEXPERIENCE Marketplace Part Supply Enterprise, discovering the latest features and a strategic update with our best subject matter experts on the topic, a team led by Stanislas de Charette. 3DEXPERIENCE Marketplace is Dassault System on-demand access to industrial services providers, helping you to create or to get a direct access to an online qualified ecosystem of providers worldwide. With 3DEXPERIENCE Marketplace Part Supply, you can download 3D parts with access to the most comprehensive components catalogs with tens of millions of components and hundreds of qualified suppliers. As usual, the CATIA TV webinar will be held here in the post where you are right now in our CATIA user community, and it will give you the capacity to interact in live with our subject matter experts throughout the chat. So don't hesitate to rewatch the webinar, and we wish you a very good day and of course a very good webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cyril, for letting us present PartSupply Enterprise to the CATIA community. Today in our webinar, we'll see how designers can benefit from PartSupply Enterprise directly in their design environment. We will look at the designer experience and see how he can save time searching for the component he needs among catalogs approved by engineering and sourcing managers. If you are interested, stay with us for the 15 following minutes, and let's see with Chloe, who will play our designer today, how PartSupply Enterprise will help you in the future. We'll begin with a little tour of PartSupply community, PartSupply Enterprise, and its data science experience, classification intelligence, and standardization intelligence. Firstly, what is PartSupply community? It's a place where you can find nearly 50 million components provided by more than 1,000 suppliers. We can browse through all that content, mainly electrical and mechanical, but not only. Here we are working on a drone and we are interested in changing the DC engine for a lighter one. We can navigate through the categories and find all the list of DC engine available in PartSupply. Let's look at one. Here we can see how we display the information. It's the same for all the components of PartSupply. Firstly, the design information of the component, then the engineering information and the sourcing ones. In the sourcing information, you can see the name of the supplier and its contact. In the engineering information, we can see the datasheet. And in the design part, we have access to three things. The first one is the drawings, the pictures of the component and its configuration, and then the 3D player in order to see in detail the component we are looking at. Then we have the list of the different configurations. We can refine through the value of the attributes. Then we have access to all the 3D similar components. So what is the 3D similarity list? It's all the components that have a similar shape to the one we are looking at. It enables to identify easy alternative for the motor we selected. Now we will go back on the list of DC motors. So here I am adding to the compare different configurations of motors that would fit with my drone arms. I will open the compare in order to compare the attributes side by side. And here we can again open each component and see its detailed view. And let's say that we will choose the first motor for our drone. I will show you how to use it in CATIA V5. In CATIA V5, I just click on Replace, and a new motor takes place on my drone. And here is my drone updated. So here was the presentation of PartSupply community with its 1,000 suppliers that we can see here. Among that content, we have built PartSupply Enterprise. PartSupply Enterprise gather two types of content: external catalogs that are a selection of the different configurations available on the market, made available for the designer in PartSupply Enterprise, and the in-house catalog, that is to say, all your company's 3D component patrimony coming from several sources, automatically indexed and pushed in PartSupply Enterprise to be available through the same search, the same category navigation than the external catalogs for all your designers directly in your CAD environment. And then, to complete the picture, we created classification intelligence and standardization intelligence in order to help you organize all PartSupply Enterprise content to streamline it in line with your company's sourcing and standardization strategy. So now we will see how to break down the silos while managing your company components to enable your sourcing and standardization strategy. Then we'll see how to classify your parts to organize and gain insight into your 3D components with our new data science experience, classification intelligence. Then we'll see how to empower the designers with qualified components directly accessible in their design environment, thanks to the building of an ecosystem of approved suppliers. And finally, with the help of standardization intelligence, we will see how to enforce the reuse of the right part according to the enterprise policy, identifying and promoting components for reuse, taking in account engineering, compliancy, manufacturing, and sourcing requirements. Now, to show you, I will play the component manager in PartSupply Enterprise. And as a component manager, I can import my own enterprise catalogs of components, browsing through my file, or using PartSupply Edge agents that will index automatically my data folder and push them into PartSupply. PartSupply automatically extracts all the necessary information to efficiently organize this content, and I can complete this information very quickly by classifying them, adding attributes, and completing its values manually or massively by CSV import. We have just seen how we enable to regroup all the content of my company into PartSupply Enterprise. Now we'll see, with classification intelligence, how we help you organize that all content massively and automatically with machine learning suggestion based on the shape and semantic recognition of the components. With classification intelligence, we can observe and monitor our global component performances from the PartSupply Enterprise Performance tab. Here we can access the service, classification intelligence, in order to organize and reveal knowledge from your patrimony of 3D components. Classification intelligence provides a new step-by-step process enabling massive and automated classification thanks to the 3D shape and semantic complete recognition of components. Classification intelligence analyst is empowered with a force-directed graph interface and completed by a machine learning E-class classifier. Once classified, your components are more easily found, reused, and can be compared in detail with each other and all market components from PartSupply community. Now, what are the benefits from PartSupply Enterprise in-house catalog building and the usage of classification intelligence? Thanks to the Edge agent, we regrouped all the company components in one place, accessible from designer's environment. In PartSupply, we extracted all the necessary information to build similarity list of components based on their shape and semantic. Finally, in classification intelligence, we organize components to search, reuse, and compare them easily. We'll now see how we manage market components in PartSupply Enterprise. Let's see with Chloe, our designer, how it works in the design environment when you search for sourceable components and you want to request their qualification.
Hi, I'm Chloe, a CATIA V5 designer, and I can reuse parts qualified by my enterprise thanks to the power of the 3D similarity. I can easily find all the similar parts of the selected providers working with our company. I can review the part in 3D, access its sketches and photos. I can compare these parts and even parts non-qualified coming from the marketplace. Here, I can access the 360 view of the part and decide if it's the right part to use And let's say that the best option is the part non-qualified. So I can request the access to this part to my component manager that will receive my request. He will be able to review the component's information and decide to add it or not to the enterprise ecosystem. Luckily, he has accepted, so I can open it, insert it, or replace it. So now you can see that my design is updated with the part from PartSupply.
As component manager, I received and approved Chloe request for a new DC motor for our drone. I'm also able to define and manage the list of supplier and sourceable components approved for my designer usage. I select my preferred partners through hundreds of suppliers qualified by Dassault Systems. I'm using semantic tag to navigate and filter on French supplier catalogs to select my favorite part. I can review its 3D, its drawing, I can access its documentation, technical and sourcing specification. I can select all of its configuration or just a few, depending on my needs to be reused by my team. And once selected, I can enrich the part to add internal information, like an internal part number or a qualification statute.
To sum up, the key values are 1. To empower the designers with up-to-date standard part catalogs directly accessible in design in real time. 2. To maximize the reuse by finding similar parts to the one selected. And 3. To enforce the reuse of standards by replacing parts in just a few clicks directly from CATIA V5 and SolidWorks Desktop.
We have seen how we manage the internal catalogs with multi-sources. We have seen how we help to classify it with classification intelligence. We have then seen how we manage preferred content coming from the market. And we will now see our solution for deduplication and identification of the component to be reused by our designers. Today, Standardization Intelligence provides a step-by-step process enabling powerful product standardization based on the right information. It helps to identify clearly for your designer which components are the reference to use and reuse, which ones are considered as alternate, and which ones must not be used. These standardization decisions are made by and shared between the engineering and sourcing departments. Let's see now how Chloe will use those information displayed in PartSupply Enterprise for each component.
Then, back in design. To enforce the reuse of the right part according to the enterprise policy, as a designer, I can find similar parts and preferred components previously defined by my component manager. I can reuse these components in my design seamlessly and in one click.
Thank you, Chloe. And now we finish with the two main values provided by Standardization Intelligence Service, which algorithm helps to deduplicate company components and enforces the reuse of the preferred component identified as optimum by engineering and sourcing departments. Thank you very much for your time, for watching, and see you soon using PartSupply Enterprise directly in CATIA V5.